All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're essentially putting together the ultimate, totally unconventional comic book survival guide for your mind. We're going to explore the brilliant, raw, and just fiercely funny world of author Ginny Lawson's latest book, How to Be Okay When Nothing Is Okay. Honestly, if you've ever felt like your brain is a chaotic battleground, this explainer is absolutely going to be your new secret weapon.
It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? Seriously, what do you do when simply surviving the day feels like an actual impossible task? How are you supposed to defeat your daily internal villains when your own brain is literally feeding you lies? That is a massive challenge, right? Especially for teenagers and young adults trying to navigate a world that constantly demands absolute perfection. But, what if the answer isn't about being perfect at all?
Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer empowering relief packed into these two sentences. Ginny Lawson reminds us of this fundamental truth. It is completely, undeniably okay not to fit into society's perfect, glossy mold. In fact, she argues that it's wonderful. This quote basically sets the entire foundation for our survival guide. It's about giving ourselves the permission to be exactly who we are, flaws, glitches, and the whole shebang.
Okay, Section 1. When nothing is okay.
Every great hero has an origin story, right? Well, this manual was born out of a profoundly difficult time for Jenny. A couple of years ago, when her daughter left for college, Jenny fell into a really deep, unmooring depression that made just, being human incredibly hard. To pull herself out, she had to assemble this quirky survival guide. And by doing so, she completely subverts that toxic expectation of what a self-help guru is supposed to look like. We usually expect some glossy, suited-up, super confident expert who literally never blinks out of anxiety. But the reality? Jenny announced this book from under two cats, one in which she calls daytime pajamas with 2 inches of gray roots, all while battling an anxiety-based blinking tic. By showing us her messy reality, she immediately proves that you absolutely do not need to be an unflawed superhero to survive or to help other people survive.
Moving right along to Section 2, The Brain's Lying Villains.
To survive, you kind of have to know what you're fighting. So we're going to introduce a rogues gallery of mental health struggles that teenagers, young adults, and Jenny herself battle on a daily basis. Now, these aren't your typical masked supervillains. These are the invisible cognitive forces that make everyday life totally exhausting. First up in our rogues gallery is Squirrel Brain Infestation. Imagine a chaotic comic book villain whose sole power is to completely scatter your focus, wipe your short-term memory, and just fill your mind with mental clutter. It attacks your ability to concentrate and totally stalls out your creativity. If you've ever felt like your brain is running in 100 different directions but somehow going nowhere, yeah, you've battled this villain.
Next up, we have executive dysfunction. This is basically an invisible force field that makes basic human tasks feel utterly insurmountable on those really hard days. And let's be clear, it is not laziness. It's a literal glitch in the brain's planning and execution department. When executive dysfunction strikes, just organizing your day, answering a single email, or even getting out of bed requires this monumental, superhero-level effort.
But listen, here is your ultimate mental shield against these villains. Depression lies. This isn't just some catchy little phrase. It is a vital, life-saving mantra. In the comments of Jenny's blog, readers repeatedly shared how this exact phrase literally saved their lives. When the villains in your head tell you that you aren't enough or that things are never going to get better, you deploy this catchphrase. You remind yourself right then and there that your brain is lying to you.
All right, on to Section 3, your mental health toolbox.
Every antihero needs a utility belt. Jenny's belt is packed with over 100 humorous, absolutely ridiculous, yet incredibly genuine tools that she's collected over decades of navigating anxiety, depression, and ADHD. Let's look at a specific, concrete gadget from that toolbox, a quick 3-step process to break a really dark emotional spiral before it completely takes over. First, you notice the spiral happening. Second, you look around and identify concrete, physical, sensory details in your environment. Third, you force your focus onto those details to interrupt the mental descent. It's a super powerful grounding technique that snaps you right back to reality when your mind is actively trying to pull you under.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer variety of unconventional gadgets you can use. For instance, lowering your expectations? That isn't giving up. It's actually a tactical move to bypass creative paralysis. And how about reading dark zombie books? Well, as Jenny explains, doing this gives her brain a place to safely work off anxiety, so she has less of it to deal with in her real life. It's all about acknowledging your own weird limitations and relying on whatever strange hacks keep you moving forward.
Which brings us to Section 4, Weird but effective superpowers.
Okay, what if the things you thought were your biggest, most embarrassing glitches could actually be reframed into literal superpowers? Let's look at how Jenny does exactly that out in the real world. Take this hilarious anecdote that was actually highlighted in a Publisher's Weekly review. Just imagine stepping up to a Dunkin' Donuts cashier and accidentally trying to pay with an expired hotel keycard. Oof. Your brain immediately screams, embarrassing failure, right? But Jenny totally reframes this exact moment. Instead of a failure, it becomes evidence of persistence. You are out in the world, you're trying your best, and you're persisting despite the brain fog. Honestly, that is a victory.
Or how about this superpower? The ability to boldly abandon a hot yoga class mid-session when it's simply not working out for you. Society constantly tells us we have to push through and finish absolutely everything we start, but having the confidence to recognize your limits, to say, you know what, this is not for me, and to just walk out, that is a prime example of knowing and honoring your own boundaries. It's a true superpower of self-care.
And finally, Section 5, the power of imperfection.
So we've talked about villains, toolboxes, and superpowers. But the ultimate lesson of this explainer is proving that embracing a messy, typo-filled life isn't just okay. It is a universally shared, beautiful human experience. So the crucial point is actually this massive number, 1,747. When Jenny was terrified that people would think she was too weird or totally unqualified to write an advice book, she offered to give away an early, unedited, mistake-filled draft on her blog. Well, she received 1,747 comments. Thousands of people begging for that exact imperfect copy. It absolutely proves that no one actually wants a perfect hero. We want someone who is real, relatable, and flawed, just like us. When she was offering that flawed early copy, Jenny wrote that she would intentionally point out the typos in the margins. She told her readers to use it to remind yourself that nothing is ever perfect and that it's okay to try even when you don't always get it right. Wow, what a beautiful testament to trying your best. Even when you feel fundamentally broken, the actual act of trying is what matters. The typos in our lives are really just proof that we are actually out here writing the story. I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. If your biggest mental health villain, whether that's your anxiety, your squirrel brain, your exhaustion, was actually a superpower in disguise, what would your comic book origin story look like today? How can you reframe your own struggles into a completely unique, powerful survival story? So, take the tools from this explainer, give yourself permission to be beautifully imperfect, and go conquer your day. You've totally got this.